in whenever you can to get things before they run out.
Which they used to literally do.
Thank you. I will.
Take all the time you need. And thank you for stopping by. A treat to have you here.
And what do you have for sale?
Now, what sorts of Beast Buy products might you be looking to acquire?
None. I want to sell you some shit, lady.
I don't mind selling things for certain clients. You know where to find me.
Wow. 4.5 grand.
I'll not mind seeing you here again. Consider yourself welcome.
Upper Hogsfield. Now, where to find Mrs. Sprottle?
Revelio.
Nice to see you again, Mrs. Sprottle. Actually, Sir Ryan asked if I'd come and see you.
Oh, dear Sirona, a gem. Has been for as long as I've known her.
She thought you might need help collecting ingredients for your Wiggenweld potion.
And she's correct. My darling agent used to collect Horcrux for me. Since he died, my supply has dwindled.
I'm sorry for your loss, Mrs. Sprottle.
Oh, thank you. Love of my life. A bit lost without him. If you wouldn't mind gathering some Horcrux for me, I'd be happy to compensate you for your time.
Believe it or not, I have some with me.
Oh, thank you. How wonderful. The travelling vendors will be thrilled to replenish their stock of Wiggenweld potion.
Sir Ryan also mentioned that Mr. Sprottle was bringing her a box of letters when he fell ill.
Indeed he was. I'd almost forgotten. I stumbled upon it just before Adrian died. He was hoping to go through it with Sirona over a butterbeer or two. Those two were always like two bowtruckles in a branch. Adrian took ill when he was collecting Horcrux on his way to see her. He made it home, but I hear he dropped the box in the cavern. The cavern is in the hills just southwest of our hamlet. You can gather Horcrux and collect the box of letters there.
Sirona said she lived with you during the summers when she was at Hogwarts. What was she like?
Goodness. Well, she was almost exactly like she is now. Charming, good head on her shoulders, taking care of everyone. I can't tell you the fun we had when she and her friends would visit us during the year, all buzzing about, practicing charms. Talented group. Her friend Mirabelle was a genius in the garden. Learned it all from her muggle parents, if you can believe it.
Thank you, Mrs. Sprottle.
Thank you. I'll be here if you are able to collect those Horcrux. I and the vendors I help would greatly appreciate it.
Plus, this last location, Leonardo that produced some of the world's most recognizable and the last suffering, measured the armor. He was a genius whose inventions were centuries ahead of their time. He drew construction plans for tanks, for helicopters, all sorts of wild things that came into reality during our lifetime right now. But there are those who believe that Leonardo's invention was inspired by an extraterrestrial intelligence, that his engines are embedded with secret knowledge and contain codes which, when deciphered, will provide the key to unlocking the universe. The Big Three is trying to tell us that there's a higher intelligence that operates in our world. So, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the Leonardo da Vinci, the Salvator Mundi, the masterpiece by Leonardo, Christ the Saviour, previous in the collection of the Three Kings of England. New York City, November 15, 2017. 370 million. Back to France last time at $370 million. They said 400 million. At a Christie's auction at Rockefeller Center, Leonardo da Vinci's newly authenticated painting, Salvator Mundi, sells for a record-breaking $400 million. So,
You can't
is a
imagine how
stunning
easy
place
travel was before.
representing the new Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. But why was a member of the Saudi royal or anyone still willing to pay such an incredible price for a work of art?
Leonardo da Vinci has captured the fascination of so many people. It really But if Leonardo were alive today and realized how much his paintings would go for, you'd go crazy. It's a lot of money for a painting. You ask yourself if there's another possibility.
There are those who believe that the Salvator Mundi is much more than a priceless piece of Renaissance art. They believe, when considered in context with other examples of Da Vinci's paintings, that it is a piece of a child. Perhaps that could reveal this. Leonardo da Vinci, the illegitimate child of a noble is born in the Italy. This function is development. Typically on all student activities wasn't caught up in the official version of reality. And is free enough to have his own ideas. When he was a teenager, Leonardo settled in nearby Florence. At that time, the city was a cultural mecca, the beating heart of a classical revival known as the Renaissance.
The Renaissance is a resurgence of new ideas and approaches and interests in not only antiquity, but in implementation. It's reinvented the culture.
What's this?
Leonardo it is also largely self-confident. Because of it, he excelled at a staggering range of disciplines. Da Vinci was way ahead of his time during the period in which he lived. He drew construction plans for tanks, for helicopters, all sorts of wild things that came into reality during our lifetime like this. In March 2018, he was also eager to find out firsthand if there was any truth to the theory that Da Vinci hid secret messages in his paintings. At the Piazzale Michelangelo, overlooking the city, Henry met with Dr. Michael Quattlestein, who has made it his life's work to discover everything there is to know about Leonardo da Vinci. So excited to be here in Florence, the home of Leonardo. Yeah, you look around, you start to see that these are what you see in Leonardo's paintings. Absolutely. He took his inspiration just from those hills, those trees. 500 years ago, Florence was, of course, a much smaller city. Right. So just crossing the Arno over there, you see the Ponte Vecchio, and Leonardo would find himself amidst nature to study the flow of water, or the movement of water, to study birds. Leonardo created just a prodigious volume of explosions of creativity. What do we have left of his legacy? We have a lot, a little. Well, we have a dozen paintings. Some of these paintings are unfinished. Some of these paintings are in the back state. And then we have his manuscripts. Manuscripts. That's like a memo of his minds, all these writings. You've personally been able to explore those notebooks and spend your life. While Leonardo's genius was highly regarded in his lifetime, he was also highly scrutinized by the Roman Catholic Church, which remained a powerful political force throughout Italy and much of the world.
During the Renaissance, it was agreed to stop that would surely in the dissolution of the Roman Empire. Because of these new discoveries, new ideas were circulated, ideas from great minds like Plato, Aristotle, and Galen from the ancient world. But these great ideas often did not combine well with Christianity. And Leonardo is someone who represents a point of conflict.
It is this ancient knowledge that has led many scholars and ancient astronaut theorists to suggest that Da Vinci, while Christian, was also open to a wide spiritual philosophies, which, if revealed, give open position for the strict teaching of the Catholic Church, and would have caused him to be publicly shunned as a heretic.
It's almost certain that Leonardo had access to secret knowledge. Leonardo was actually not, as a lot of people think today, some kind of atheist. Leonardo was a heretic. He passionately believed in something that was outside of the mainstream religion and therefore very dangerous.
Florence, Italy, 2002. Using infrared diagnostic techniques, Dr. Maurizio Sergi uncovers the underground for a preliminary sketch, documenting Leonardo da Vinci for his unfinished painting, Adoration of the Magi. Commissioned in 1480, the work depicts the biblical story of the three wise men who Joseph in Bethlehem. But by viewing the painting with this new technology, it becomes apparent that Leonardo's original sketch actually included many more details than those that could be seen with just the naked eye.
Nature, architecture, and my eyes alone do not see them because they are covered by a brownish monochrome layer of paint that later I understood was not applied by my eye. In the background of the top left, you could see a couple of people sitting in despair on stairs of the temple in Rome. Well, aiming the camera at the scene, suddenly a completely different view came out.
The detail that was painted over was a scene of a pagan temple that was rising up through the ruins of a Christian church. And this was considered problematic during the Renaissance period, with Christianity as the one and only true religion.
Upon close examination of Da Vinci's original sketch, instead of a temple ruins, the artist seemed to be depicting a scenario in which an Egyptian temple is being rebuilt. Most notable is the fact that one of the temple columns is capped by a lotus flower, which in ancient Egypt represented the so-called flower of life.
The flower of life is the information behind how the universe was created. Everything in the universe is geometric. Sacred geometry implies that there is intelligence behind it.
It's believed by mystics to be a symbol of advanced superconsciousness, a way of plugging into the knowledge possessed by extraterrestrial beings. Da Vinci, we can fairly say, was practically obsessed with it. And one wonders if Da Vinci actually tapped into the ultimate of the that was figures
sacred geometry. Leonardo da Vinci, including his hand, was very yes. And Leonardo da Vinci was one of the most clearly recorded He was such a popular figure. His life was documented. What's interesting is that there are 2 years missing from his existence. He basically disappeared off the face of the earth. From 1476 to 1478, Leonardo da Vinci's activities completely disappeared from the historical record. The death occurs when the artist was between 24 to 26 years old, just at the point when he was beginning to come into prominence. So what could account for these missing years? Ancient astronaut theorists point to a strange experience the artist had while hiking near a cave. It is one of the very few autobiographical anecdotes Da Vinci ever made in his personal journal. He came across this cave, and as he stood in front of it, all of a sudden he felt drawn to go inside in order to find out about the miracle of wonderment that's inside. We don't know what happened inside this cave. It's very possible that Leonardo da Vinci actually encountered extraterrestrial teachers who gave him certain information. Leonardo da Vinci, the incredible genius that he was. I'm not sure Leonardo da Vinci went to another world, but I have a feeling that this guy somehow through dreaming or going through some kind of dimension was able to see the future.
Able to discern and detect these codes that are coming to them from these higher levels of reality. And utilize in their work, in their art, in their inventions to improve the physical world that we live in. For those who are the good fortune, it just came to him spontaneously. He was tapping into something that allowed him to bring down knowledge and information. He did.
Ancient astronaut theorists suggest that further evidence of Leonardo's contact with extraterrestrial intelligence can be found by a close examination of one of his most important works. The Virgin of Rock is really showcased the fun of Leonardo. Special techniques including splumano, which adds this hazy look, which figures the shadows in a way that other artists would popular researcher Goooo did a locally the Da Vinci to get her thoughts on this unique work of art. Just come from the National Gallery and experienced the Virgin of the Rocks. When you look at it, you're drawn into it. The colors, the setting, it's almost like it's coming out of the wall and you're stepping into it.
Yeah, I always think in terms of there's something that we don't really get that he's holding back. And I think
The Virgin of the Rocks depicts the apocryphal story of an early meeting between the infant Jesus and the infant John the Baptist during the time of the Holy Family's flight to Egypt.
in this painting, apparently what we have is the baby John the Baptist kneeling to Jesus, and the Virgin Mary's got her arm round John the Baptist, and there's an archangel who is Uriel. And so far, so good, you might think, except that the children are with their wrong protectors. I mean, you would expect Jesus to be with his mother, and it so happens that Uriel is traditionally John the Baptist's protector.
Right. Uriel has a big backstory, informing Noah about the flood, archangel of wisdom.
Yeah, wisdom is, that's important here.
Celestial being coming from
the
heavens. In one of the so-called lost chapters of the Hebrew Bible, known as the Book of Enoch, the archangel Uriel guides Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, through heaven, where he is taught all the secrets and mysteries of the universe. As a way of sending a secret message about what he believed to be the extraterrestrial source and his They just dropped a very important word as well, the word pseudo. It suggests that his painting is a sort of portal that he's taking us into where something very special is happening here. Maybe that explains why it's such an otherworldly, almost dreamlike scene.
Yeah.
The veil between this world and the other one. In his painting, The Virgin of the Rose, did Leonardo da Vinci deliberately plant clues that were intended for future generations to find? Clues that gave insight into his belief that much of mankind's knowledge had profoundly extraterrestrial origins.
Leonardo was equally fascinated with background as he was with figures in the foreground. And one of the things that's so striking about Virgin of the Rocks is this very craggy, spooky, dramatic cavern that provides the backdrop for the figures. There are almost no other precedents for this group of figures in this sort of location.
Proving that Leonardo deliberately staged this scene at the mouth of a cavern in order to draw a link between the painting and his earlier experience in the cave. And by placing Jesus with the Archangel Uriel, was he indicating a belief that the Archangel was actually an extraterrestrial entity?
Da Vinci's inclusion of the Archangel Uriel makes you wonder, Leonardo's experience with the Archangel Uriel, who told him about humanity's future.
But they all contain evidence of the honest belief in so-called secret or forbidden knowledge. And if so, might they also contain clues that are intended to reveal not only Da Vinci's personal beliefs, but a message that he was entrusted to convey to future generations? Milan, Italy. Housed in the monastery of Santa Maria delle Grazie is one of Leonardo da Vinci's most iconic paintings, The Last Supper. This imposing mural, more than 15 feet tall and nearly 29 feet wide, depicts the biblical moment when Jesus tells his disciples that one of them will betray him.
It's a very clear statement, and the disciples are reacting to this statement in horror. To the left is St. Bartholomew, who seems to have leapt his feet and hit the table and was leaning towards Jesus in shock. And third from right of Jesus in the middle is St. Philip, who seems to cave in with shock.
What's interesting about this Last Supper is it looks like a frozen moment of action. If you imagine you have remote control and the scene is on pause, and you were to unpause it, all this movement would happen. But at this frozen moment, you can really study the actions and reactions of the people depicted.
As with Leonardo's other works, many researchers and ancient astronaut theorists believe that this painting contains hidden messages.
When writing Templar Revelation, wait a minute, that's a woman.
sitting at the right is a figure that is not depicted to represent the Apostle John. But unlike the other figures in the painting, this one appears to have strikingly feminine features. In his own treatise on painting, one side.
If you look at Jesus sitting at the centre of the
Access to secret knowledge about the true nature of the relationship between Jesus and God.
At the time, would have been very hard to run. So the theory is that Mary Magdalene to have a wife. They wanted him to be celibate, to be godlike, and so cast Mary Magdalene as a prostitute rather than as a woman of importance.
Leonardo did indeed intend to depict Mary Magdalene as the person sitting next to Jesus. What makes her inclusion even more curious is an element of the story that seems to have been deliberately omitted: Jesus' chalice, otherwise known as the Holy Grail.
In the Bible, it says that one of the reasons for the Last Supper was for Jesus to instigate the communion, his blood represented by the wine and the table, and his body the broken bread. Now, there is no great glass, or indeed any particular glass of wine.
The Holy Grail had natural life-giving properties. But there are some myths that an actual grail never really existed. Instead, they believed it was a symbol intended to represent Jesus'
Many people believe that the Holy Grail was the 40 Mary when she was pregnant with herself and Jesus.
This is evidence that the grail is a ring, and the truest of the true sacred soul is birth. Human birth is the ring.
Mary Magdalene, according to a number of traditions, actually was the bride of Jesus. And she these two for a new type of person on earth. And this is literally the Holy Grail.
Leonardo da Vinci has special extraterrestrial knowledge about mankind's origins that he used to inform his messages within his paintings. Those are pastoral symbols, and also suggest that within his painting of the Last Supper is yet another, even more profound code, one that, when translated, will allow direct communication with our alien ancestors. Lecce, Italy, 2003. Based on a close examination of Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks, musicians the Last Supper for evidence that Da Vinci may have hit a musical composition
in the now iconic painting.
One of the intriguing theories about Last Supper that I actually think has some merit is that a scholar found musical healing is that there's no such thing as an accidental or just for the sake of it insert in old master figures. Each aspect was carefully decided.
Leonardo definitely was a musician, and he served the Medicis as a lyre player and as a singer. He played the organ. Well, there was an organ in the church. The Last Supper.
2018, the Giovanni in Florence. Theory.
First to see, I enjoy Destiny.
How did you come to find this evidence that in one of his most famous frescoes is a hidden melody?
La prima cosa che ho fatto è questa lacrimonata della frequenza. So the first thing that really caught my attention was that this is the total breath of the Holy Mass. And there are some vertical lines along the intervals, and horizontal lines, which proved to be very important. And as a musician, the first thing that came to mind seeing these horizontal lines was a musical pentagram.
Is the musical pentagram what we today would call a sheet of music?
Yes, that's exactly right.
How did you bring this melody to life?
It is going to be more silence. We've got to highlight it. It is these lyrical as if they are not one of them in the face of it. We can enter the vocal breath being all the way to the electron after the dead. The little bit of the the more exactly lines, but then it helps the table. To the end, we get this bread. Io scrivevo da destra e da sinistra, remember it was in fact the angle as you can the right, the right,
Ogni nota ha una vibrazione particolare perché a mio avviso non hanno utilizzato questa notazione proprio per molto tranquillamente che non essere bene solo per dare un qualcosa di esteriore una vibrazione si dà il
This in both Hinduism, Buddhism, as well as Jainism, even Sikhism, you have specific mantras that are tuned to these deities. So these mantras are used both to create a rapport, connection with these deities, to summon them, to help you manifest them. The idea that harmonic sounds or music might be the ideal means of communication with extraterrestrial beings was a key component of NASA's Voyager program in 1977. Originally designed as a pair of robotic probes, which could collect and send back important information about the Earth's sister planets, Voyagers 1 and 2 each carried a large golden disc, onto which various images and sounds were recorded. The disc and its contents were the brainchild of famed astronomer Carl Sagan, who worked closely with space artist and science journalist John Lomberg.
After that part,
visual arts and music might be as legitimate a content of interstellar communication as math and physics, which he thought interesting. If they were to ask me what to send to establish communication, I'd send them music. The mathematical relationships that underlie most aesthetics, and whether you're talking about intervals in music, like harmony, or whether you're talking about proportion in architecture or painting, these things are not things that we just conjure up out of our own minds. They're a reflection of the beautiful fractal nature of the universe. Did you ever see the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Sì.
The spaceship lands at the Devil's Tower and it starts playing tones, the language of the universe. And it loops infinitely.
La melodia inizia con un E, the melody begins with an E, finisce sempre con il Mi, and it ends with an E as well. Può essere ripetuto all'infinito, and it can be repeated pretty much.
I'll look after you.
If Leonardo da Vinci really did encode musical notes within his painting of the Last Supper, what was his purpose? Was he trying to convey an important message to humanity from another world? Or was he trying to teach humanity the means by which it can communicate with its extraterrestrial ancestors? The Illuminati. It is here, in what some would call an unlikely setting, that the world's most expensive work of art, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, will reside. Established in November 2017, this architectural marvel consists of a floating dome created from a complex geometric design of 7,800 interlocking stars that cast beams of light into the space below. Its appearance has been likened to that of a giant flying saucer, and the museum's architect, Jean Nouvel, says its goal was to emphasize the fascination generated by rare encounters.
The museum looks like this giant disc with thousands of stars. Are they trying to signal something, or is it purely an architectural choice?
But why is this futuristic museum considered by many ancient astronaut enthusiasts to be the most appropriate setting for what others would consider a traditional depiction of Jesus Christ? And what is it about this 518-year-old Renaissance painting that compelled its owner to pay such a record price?
$100 million is the bid, and the bid is sold.
We're going to see what we've got inside.
During his meeting with historian Dr. Michael Plankelstein at the Dutch University Institute for History in March 2017, ancient astronaut theorist and author William Henry decided to share his thoughts concerning Da Vinci's recently discovered masterpiece.
He's got that lion-like gaze, just very powerful, staring directly at us. Mona Lisa smiles slightly. But it's this crystal sphere that draws people in. This, in fact, is the Chintamani stone, the wish-fulfilling gem of Tibetan Buddhism.
The Chintamani stone? Oh, that's very relic that appears in many examples of Buddhist art. But why would Leonardo da Vinci depict Jesus Christ holding an orb that features a Buddhist symbol?
Gemoni's jewel. And Chinta, in this case, is referring to wishes. It's the jewel that grants wishes. If you look at deities like Shakti-Garba, he actually is holding it in his hand, and it looks like a little orb. And he can travel through all the 6 realms where various beings dwell.
In Buddhist scripture, the Chintamani stone is often described as a wish-fulfilling crystal sphere and is most often seen in the possession of a bodhisattva, or enlightened teacher. Much like Jesus holding the orb in this Salvator Mundi painting, the bodhisattva is usually depicted holding the Chintamani stone in the palm of his hand. But how would a 15th century Renaissance artist, a Roman Catholic, have known about a 10th century Buddhist symbol? And why would he have included it in an traditional religious painting? For William Henry, a key to the answer may be found by
Ooh,
knowing
that's an idea.
3 simple white dots or stars